Can I go to your dashboard?
Yep.
Um, so I'm gonna pin this. You're gonna cut all this stuff out for. Um,
They're free. No. Well, I did too. That's why I was asking.
all right.
Okay, right?
Good morning, folks. We got a few people here. We got a few people in person. We're gonna have some fun this morning. It's almost time. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So I am going to pass off this morning's meeting to Kat Brandon, so she can share with you information about our systems, the zone, and other tips and tools. As our office administrator, some of you just think she answers the phone. That could not be farther from the truth. She's also assistant director of compliance for Realty One Group here in Arizona. And so she reviews all sorts of files from actually all 8 offices and has a broad understanding of how to get around this lovely system. So I'm going to get out of the way. For those of you online, if you do have questions when we start asking for questions, please unmute yourself. I have a very small screen, so it is hard for me to see, have the chat and other things open. So please just let us know if you have any questions and let's get started. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I'm gonna start with Zone. Zone is going to be the platform that you can access a few different things. So when you first start with us, you'll get your Zone login, and this is going to be the dashboard that you see. There's a few important things to note inside of Zone. I'm going to come over here to user. When you drop this down, it's got some specific stuff to you. So we're going to start in my account. So when you go in here, this is going to have an overview of your information. It'll have your hire date, your name, your address, and your contact information. So if you ever need to update it, you are able to come in here and do so. The other thing to note, your 1099s are always going to be in this area right here. I don't have any because it's my admin account, but if I did, it would say the year. You could click on it and they are always going to be password protected. There are instructions right here, but it's either going to be your social security or your EIN, depending on if you have a PLLC or not.
So Kat, so it is 2026.
Mhm.
Are the 2025 1099s actually available
They
already?
are available. So you can access those right there. Um, does have emergency contacts and different things. And if you are on a team, it would be listed here. The next tab over is going to be our billing tab. This is going to, now your account is going to show a credit card on file. I don't have one since this is my admin account, but if I did, it would be right here. It would show the last 4 digits. It doesn't show the whole thing. So you can only see, the last 4 to tell which card you have on file. If you ever needed to update your credit card, whether it expired or just fraud, different things, you would come in here and you would click this blue button right here. And add a new card. So it would take your card information and you can do that there. This down here, the invoices, is going to show any invoice you've ever paid to Realty One Group. So if you ever need to go back and look at anything, it'll all be saved right here in the invoices. So that's your billing tab. Another important tab. Don't worry about so much about the programs and settings. That's more for corporate side of things, not really anything you need to worry about. So in the public info tab is where you can change your profile picture. You can also add a bio. I recommend adding a bio. This is going to be something that other agents can see and different things like that. So it is good just to fill it out. You can also add any websites, Facebook, different things. along that line, and that is all going to be public, so other agents are able to see those. But it is good to fill it out when it's blank, especially if you speak other languages or something. It's extremely important to fill those out because we are able to search by languages, because sometimes we have clients call that are looking for specific things. So it's definitely good to put those things in there. The other important tab up here is going to be this transactions tab. This is going to show any transactions that you have. It goes year to date, and you can click on each individual years. Mine are just because I help TC a little bit, so that's, you can see what I've made so far this year. You guys will have a button on this. It's going to be right next to the all. It's going to say cap. It's going to show you a whole where you're at, if you've reached your cap or not. It's a live tracker, so it's a great place to keep track of things. If you're unsure and you need to know, you are able to check in this transaction tab. Or if you don't have time to get on the computer, you can always call Heather or I, and we are happy to look at it for you. So that's kind of going to be your information in Zone. That's all going to be specific to you. Our dashboard here, we do always have birthdays and anniversaries, any celebrations. Once you move down here, we do have our top producing agents. This is kind of cool. You can see this month, last month, this quarter, year to date, last year, if you're interested in looking at any of those. The other fun thing is going to be this box right here, the 2026 performance. This, wait, oh, there it is. So you can actually edit your goals and you can enter your goals for the year. If you do this, these little circles will automatically start filling so you can see the progression. So it's kind of cool. You can enter your own goals and definitely see their performance here on Zone. It's visual, and it will give you numbers on the sides here if you actually have things entered. The other thing inside of Zone, we have a little marketing tab here. There are logos, and our One Design Studio can be accessed from here. We also have our One Shop. That's just going to have some Realty One Group swag, different things like that. So a lot of these you can access straight from here, and will launch to these other places as well as SkySlope, or if you're looking for other offices, you can do that. And this is actually pretty cool. We're gonna.
Can they access that?
I think they can.
Okay.
Because I think it shows other offices in. I think you guys can. Actually, we're not gonna worry about that.
Can you get into it or no?
So I think you can search a state or a city. So if you were trying to do a referral out of state or different things like that, you could find a Realty One Group agent to refer to, or at least an office, and kind of get into it. I don't know if you have to do a city to actually. So yes, Eric is showing me you are able to search other offices. So if you ever had a referral or something that you needed to contact another office, you definitely could do that. The other thing in Zone is going to be, you have this one login right up here. Once you open that, it will take you to, what do we want to call this? It's just
tiles.
They're tiles. It's going to be all of the different things that you have access to being a part of Realty One Group. Some of these you're not going to see. Some of these are just specific to corporate. So obviously a one onboarding, Zone broker, Zone compliance, you're not going to have any of those. Sometimes the tiles move, sometimes it's different tiles in there, but you do have a search, or you can do, that is going to be your most used tiles. So this for me is going to be compliance, but you are able to search in here.
Just go to your apps and pull down at the core. Should be able to change that from core. No, up there. There you go to everything. If you go to the top one to everything, and you'll see all the tiles available. There's a lot of tiles.
So there's a lot of different things that are available to you guys. I'm not going to go into detail on all of these different tiles, but if you're curious, open them up, play around in them a little bit. We offer a lot of tools. So I think it's best to kind of look through it and see what you could benefit from. The one I'm wanting to go into right now.
Creative Studio.
Is that what we wanted to do? Our logos.
Branding.
Branding. What is it called?
Just type it on the top.
Oh, one branding. This tab is going to be pretty cool. It's going to have different things for branding purposes. We'll start with our styling guide. This is going to show what our colors are. It gives the breakdown of the actual color. So if you're in Canva or something and you want our exact color, you can type this in there, and it will pull this color for you. The other thing, we have specific fonts that you can download and use for branding. And then these are just kind of gold textures and backgrounds that you are able to save if you're wanting to create your own flyers, really anything. They can be uploaded into Canva and you can use them there. The other thing we have is going to be on. Now, if you're ever in here, these are kind of weird. You have to be a little above to actually click on them. But we also do have logos that you can download to use. This is also going to have our different rules with the logos, so what you're allowed to do with them. So if you're ever confused, you always can use this as a reference. It'll go over the width and all different kinds of things in there. In proper use, it also gives you some examples on the side here. So this is, I think actually Essentials is where you can also go to order.
It's going to give you presentations.
Yeah, different presentations, email signature. So if you're new and you're wanting to have an email signature, you can download this and use it as an email signature. That is where you would get that. It would be in the Essentials tab. So the other thing I'm wanting to show you guys is going to be our One Design Creative Studio. Now you're going to be using this. You can use it for any property marketing or marketing of yourself. It does have pre-saved templates. So in the business marketing, if we click business cards here, it'll give us a couple different saved templates that you would fill in your own information, and then you can use them. The other thing it's going to have is email signatures. There's quite a few different options that you are able to use. We do have some different social posts. So we've got some branding and different things you can use within here. Pre-save stuff if you're ever wanting to use it on any social media. The other cool one would be the testimonials. If you get any testimonials from clients, you can definitely use these pre-saved templates. Now, honestly, One Design Creative Studio is pretty cool if you ever just want to get in and kind of play around. I know Eric, you use it quite a bit. You can have listing presentations, different things like that as well from the One Design Creative Studio. So that's just a little overview of that. Do we have any questions so far?
Anybody online have a question? Just unmute. Any questions here? Right? Have you started your stuff?
Yeah, following along.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
So there are a few other things that you can click on in here, but honestly, the best way to learn on some of these things is just to get in them and kind of click around a little bit. Let's see, let's go back to my one login. I know One Suite is another one that you guys should use. I don't think mine's set up, so I don't think it's
Go
gonna
ahead and press
open it.
It'll open it.
See.
It'll open it, just say okay at the top. Should be able to.
Single
Just
sign-on.
the single sign-on. So the one suite has both a CRM, is it not letting you go in?
I don't know if it's because it's my admin,
It may be.
but
We can switch over to mine when we want to do that. Go ahead and
okay.
we'll come back to that, but the one suite has both your website and your CRM in there, so. But
All right, the other thing that is going to be important for you guys would be the one tool chest. That is going to have, well, quite a few tools for you. This is going to be the tool chest. All of these things have talk about different things. They've got the QR codes that you're able to scan. Talks about One Marketplace, SkySlope.
there's the one suite.
Yep.
One app.
So it does go over kind of an overview of each of those things since I wasn't able to open them. If you wanted to take a look at that, you can. So there's a lot of information in here. I think I'm almost, guess I'm at the end of it. But it is good to read through that if you have not read through that before. And actually, I've not really clicked on, do you know much about that? Let's see what it is.
Can't get to it.
So that is kind of a brief overview of some of our different systems. I know a lot of people typically have questions on SkySlope, so I can go over to SkySlope if you guys are wanting to ask me any questions. The only thing
Can't do it out of your admin.
I can.
Oh.
My SkySlope still looks like the old SkySlope right now. So as an agent, your SkySlope is going to look slightly different than this. I still just have the old view because it's an admin thing. So this is SkySlope. This is going to be your file. Think of it as a file folder for executed documents. Everything needs to be uploaded in here so that we are able to review it and make sure everything looks good. If you are going to start a transaction or a listing, this is where you would do it from. On the agent view, it does have create new. It's pretty clear on where you go to create the different things. I would say the only thing in the agent view that's confusing is finding the working documents. On y'all's, you're going to be looking for recent listings and transactions. And to the right of that, there's going to be a more drop-down menu that shows your working documents. These are going to be, got to make sure you do the office docs and then select your office. You guys are only going to see the Paradise Valley folder. I can just see a few of the other offices. This is going to be where you're going to find a W-9. So if you do have a referral and they're asking for your brokerage W-9, you have access to it here in the working documents. You can save this and send that over to them. If you're having trouble, you can, like I said, you can always call me and Heather and we can walk you through that. This is also going to be where you find your CDI, your commission and distribution instruction. That is going to be for sales specifically because as y'all know, we use different CDIs for rentals and referrals than we do for a sale.
Where's the rental one?
That is going to be on page 2. So you do have to click over to page 2 and it's going to be the second one down. And it does say CDI for rentals and referrals. So if you're unsure if you have the right one, it'll tell you whether it's rental and referral or sale. The other important document that is in here is this is a document checklist. This gives an overview of each of our different files that you can have within SkySlope, depending on who you represent and what it is. This is a good thing that if you're wanting to take a look out before maybe going to a listing presentation or filling out a purchase contract for a buyer is taking a look at this and seeing what documents are going to be required for us inside of SkySlope.
Can you enlarge that so they can see it a little better? Because online, that's going to be really hard to see. But if you start across the top, you'll see the different types of transactions. Mm-hmm. And that way you can see if it's the red check mark, it's going to be a required document. If it's green, it's if it applies, right? But you can see when you're doing a traditional listing, there are quite a few documents you need to start with. And then as you move down and get it under contract, which is where purchase contract starts, you'll see the other documents you'll need as you proceed through that transaction.
So if you're ever unsure and you're like, did I need that document? You can always take a look at this and it will tell you if you do or not. It does have a key down here at the bottom. So if you ever have any questions about this document, you can also reach out to us here in the office and we're happy to walk you through it.
So let's say, well, how quickly do you have to load a listing contract? When you take an ER, how quickly do you have to have that into this SkySlope system?
You have 72 hours from the time that ER has been signed to upload it into SkySlope.
But I created it in SkySlope Forms. Isn't that already there?
No.
Why not?
SkySlope Forms is different than SkySlope. SkySlope Forms is going to be where you actually fill out documents and send them for signature, where SkySlope is going to be a file folder for only executed documents.
What's an executed document?
It has to be signed by all parties. So that's going to depend on the document. But if you are under contract and you have something with only a buyer's signature and not a seller, that is not an executed document. You need all signatures and initials.
Okay, so 72 hours and it's been a week and I haven't loaded that in there. So I open the file and all of a sudden there's a weird thing that says there's a delay letter required. What is that?
Well, that you can also find your document delay here in your working documents.
You mean there's actually a real letter that I have to fill out?
Yes, there is.
Why?
It is required. If your documents are late, we need the document delay. You can't get out of it. If you're late, you've got to have it in the file. So you're going to fill this out. Why was it delayed? Maybe you forgot it had to be within 72 hours, but you need to also write in your steps taken to ensure compliance in the future. And please make sure that you sign these. You do have to sign it.
And
So
what's the fine print on the bottom there?
that is going to be the commissioner's rules. So
the 72 hours isn't just some weird random number, is it?
it is not.
What's it come from? The Realty One Group ICA on the bottom, because the company has to comply with commissioner's rules that require we review brokers, and that's not me. We actually have compliance managers who are brokers. And as I said, Kat is an assistant compliance manager, but she's not doing that yet because she's not a broker, so she can't review the files. But we have to get it done within 10 business days. So if you think about it, if you sign something on a Friday and then you wait a week before putting it in there, it puts our company at jeopardy for not complying with the commissioner rules. So that's why we have the 72 hours in your ICA that it needs to be uploaded. And the reason we have this form used is so you see very clearly, we're not making things up. These are really part of your rules you've agreed to and part of the commissioner rules that we're all obligated to comply with.
And just know if you're working on a listing and you have it in the MLS and there's not something in SkySlope within 72 hours, you will be receiving an email from either Heather or I just reminding you to get it uploaded into SkySlope.
You mean you actually look at the MLS?
Every day we do an MLS audit, so we are checking to see if files are being opened in SkySlope. I know sometimes things come up, but we will send an email just to remind you, hey, get this in. Other thing to note, Heather and I do offer a limited TC service, so if you're like, I don't have time I don't want to upload this into SkySlope and worry about this, you are able to email us executed documents, and we will handle the SkySlope side of things for you. If you have any more questions about that, you can reach out to Heather or I, and we will answer those questions.
But so that form is there. We really do not want Word documents loaded into SkySlope because it forces us to have to open up a reader, believe it or not. Word documents do not just open. It's a real problem. You need to take things to a PDF if you're going to put something in to one of the file folders so that we can see it when we actually open the file folder. That would be really appreciated. But the doc delay letter is an actual letter we want you to fill out and sign. So if the file is audited and they see that, the department sees that, they can say, oh, okay, this is why somebody did that. Now, don't be surprised if the auditor decides, oh, look, John Smith's file, maybe we should go look at another John Smith file. And so if you're making the same error over and over and over again, that's part of why on that doc delay letter, you're explaining why and how you are going to solve the issue that occurred. So hopefully you're not doing that repetitively. Most likely our office is going to catch that, but trust me, the department will if they audit us. So please understand that's why we have those forms in place.
Yes, another thing to note, this is going to be a CDI addendum for wire. This form, you would just enter in your property address. You would attach this with your CDI when you upload it into the file. This does give you the option to pick up a commission check directly from title, mail, or wire. If there is any expense with that, that is on the agent. That is not something that we will cover. To use this, your file has to be clear. You have to have a fully green file to use this. If you upload this and you're missing 5 or 6 documents within that file, Heather and I will not send a CDI addendum for signature. You can upload it and let me know, like I'll say, hey, we'll send the CDI, but the addendum can't be signed right now. You can let me know when the file is clear and I'm happy to get it sent, but you do have to have a clear file to actually use the CDI addendum. Now, the other thing we do offer is going to be Zelle. So if you're interested in that, we can send you instructions on how to sign up for that. Just to know, when we do Zelle, the whole thing gets made out to Realty One Group. We have to deposit it, and it does not get Zelled to you till that following day. And if it's following business day, I guess I should say. So if you're interested in that, you can always reach out to us for that.
Is there a cost for using Zelle?
No, there is no cost. The other thing that is going to be found in our working documents is going to be the ABA. This is going to be required in every document or every checklist because it goes over our affiliated business arrangements. So your clients do have to sign this. And if you ever have a client that maybe is, going to buy something, that file canceled, and you're now under contract on another property, you can use that same ABA as it does not have an address on it. It's just client specific. So that's a good thing to note there. But there's quite a few different documents in our working documents. If you ever have any questions about them, you're able to reach out to us.
Can you show the adult community addendum there?
Yes, I can.
So the adult community addendum, if you're doing things in an adult-only community, most likely in, your Sun Cities, maybe Sun Lakes. So it says several of them, but most of these, because this was created by WeServe, are in the West Valley. But it's really important. People think that the Sun Cities have HOAs. I mean, they do, but it's a $25 a year fee and it's optional. But what's more critical is this adult community advisory and addendum, because it explains all the costs and the cost breakdowns. For some that are not familiar with it, trash and recycle services, those are annually charged. There is no city service, so those are private services. And wastewater are also usually private services. So some of them might be public, but for the most part, they're usually private. Please make sure you're reviewing this with your client so they understand there could be additional ongoing fees for them if they don't understand that are not covered by just living in the city, and supposedly it would just get taken care of. So it's really, really important that you have that. If you're a listing agent, you need to go over this with your seller to get it filled out. And if you're a buyer's agent, this needs to go in there. I don't really recommend you put it in the HOA. It should be a miscellaneous document. We've seen some people put it in the HOA.
Yeah.
But it's really not an HOA. This is actually through, most of them are rec centers, so it's not a homeowners association.
Yep. And sometimes these fees, especially in the Sun Cities, it's a chunk of change. So make sure that you guys are filling that out properly. What is that?
That's our E&O insurance certificate. If you're ever being asked for proof that you have errors and omissions insurance, that is your certificate of liability insurance, and you can provide that if somebody's asking about Realty One Group insurance certificate.
Perfect.
Mhm.
All right, there are post-possession and pre-possession agreements in here.
Do you know the rule of thumb for the timeline for pre and post possession?
I do not.
Pretty much 30 days. If it's under 30 days, we recommend that. Doesn't mean it can't be for longer, but it is a different setup. You are not creating a landlord-tenant relationship, so it does not fall under landlord-tenant rules. And just a reminder, if a buyer is buying a property with a loan, they must occupy that property within the 60 days if it's going to be an owner-occupied property. That's not something you can negotiate. That is a part of their loan. It requires that they actually move in within those 60 days. So keep that in mind if you're trying to get pre and post possession. I've had people say, well, the seller wants to stay for 3 or 4 months. It's like, well, then you better tell them that they can't have a buyer with a loan.
Yep. So any questions about that, Melissa's your gal.
What's on that second page? Make sure we covered all those.
Think. Oh, should we go over this one?
Yeah, that's
This is an important one. Okay, who can sign?
So this goes over the different things with who is able to sign depending on the situation. Oftentimes agents will call me and say, so I have a trust, who actually signs? And, do all parties of the trust have to sign? And unless they're looking at the trust, I don't have the answer to that. Usually all the trustees have to sign, but it could be co-trustees, it could be successor trustees. It all depends on where that trust is in its processing. If there's an estate, they should be signing, they can just sign PR. Usually it would be John Doe, comma, PR for personal representative. You don't usually have to write for the estate of John Smith if the seller's name is estate of John Smith, because then it's going to say John Doe, comma, PR. But you need to make sure when you're setting up your stamps in the electronic signing programs that that is all covered in there, that you actually set them up. Some agents decide to do 2 different sets of stamps just to make it easier. That's fine. But the seller's name still needs to be estate of John Smith. So I love the ones when people tell me, well, it's a divorcing couple. Do both parties have to sign? You bet, unless they've already been divorced and the owner of the property is the one that is in charge of it, and that the other person does not have to actually agree to anything. And that would be a part of the divorce decree. And you probably need to see that if somebody's telling you that that's what's happening. I will tell you title will need to see it. So it's really important for that.
So this is just a good document if you do have anything like that. Maybe take a look at it before you set up all your signatures and everything, because if you do it right the first time, it's not something that you have to correct later on down the road. So that,
Yeah,
On the trust. So does it need to have trustee on it, or will it kick it back?
we will kick it back.
so like the compliance team would review it and they would reject your document and tell you, they would give you the reason why they're rejecting it, and you would then fix it at that point. So things do get, our compliance team, like I said, they're reviewing everything. So if you're missing an initial, if you're missing a signature, if something is missing somewhere, compliance will see it and they will let you know. So that's kind of what I meant earlier with the CDI addendum. You have to have a clear file. So everything in your file has to be green. If you've got any purple in your checklist or red in your checklist, you cannot use a CDI addendum. It's just meaning the file has not, all the documents are not clear. So
You can have a CTC. Well, it's not
Clear,
that,
clear to
but
close.
you know.
Yeah, no clear to check is what it's, you can't get your check is what they're saying.
yeah, and that is one thing to note. We will hold on to a check if the file is not clear and we need documents. You guys don't always, you're not as helpful when you already have your money to get us things that we need. So,
That's a nice way to put that.
yep, you seem to be, you have a little more fire under you when you're waiting on a little bit of money. So that is just one thing to note there. We're not doing it to be mean. We're just doing it to stay in compliance. So like I said, right here, you would go in to create any type of transaction. One thing to note, you do have to have a buyer broker to show in Arizona. That does need to be uploaded into SkySlope within the 72 hours. It will be a pre-contract, so you're not putting in quite as much information, but it does still need to be in SkySlope. If you're ever looking for them, those files are going to be under the client's name as opposed to an address, because technically there's no address to put with that name at that point. Another thing to note is on those pre-contracts, once you are under contract, there is a accepted contract button within that file. You don't need to open a separate file. You just need to convert it from the pre-contract to under contract. If you have any questions about that, give me or Heather a call and we'll walk you through what you need to do in that case.
Yeah, because if you set up a new file, then your buyer or broker stuff is sitting off on its own and they need to be connected. So it's just like if you take a listing, when you get the contract for the listing, there's a button that you press that says you have a contract, right? So same thing with your buyer side. Now with the pre-contract, you go in and you click that to take it to a contracted file. Now, what happens if that file falls out of escrow?
So if that falls out, that file will cancel. And at that point, you would need to open another pre-contract. We can't, I think they're trying to figure out how to bring the pre-contract back, but at this point in time, you have to open a new pre-contract. One thing I'm going to tell you, you're going to be opening this new pre-contract and the doc reviewers are going to be like, wait a minute, this was signed a long time ago. We need a doc delay. Now, to avoid that, you just need to put a note in the placeholder next to the buyer broker that this had been previously uploaded to another file.
Can you open do a transaction, just start a new one if you can, just manage transactions so we can see what a pre-contract looks like. Because a lot of people go in and write notes. Can you you can't create a new one?
Well, I guess I can.
Yeah, that way you don't have anybody else's stuff on.
Like, okay, so it would be purchase in this case.
And this is where you get the pre-contract.
So this is where it's gonna say pre-contract or under contract. We can probably just do. So this, I think right here, if you're searching in here, if you use SkySlope forms, you can link some things, but we're gonna just skip through this right now. So yes, I can.
That's fine
to have a.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yep. It's okay. I can go through.
Yeah.
So, the which office, that's always going to auto populate for you once you, so who is the transaction agent? That's always going to be you. So you're going to type your name in there and your office will automatically populate at that point. Property type. So a majority of the time it's going to be residential. It might be land, it might be commercial, but a majority of the time it will be residential. Now this subtype, this is just going to be dependent on your client and what they're shopping for.
And just pause before you click that. So if people are looking for the referral to set up, that's where the referral is down there. But single family residences, or mobile home, we got it all.
Mm-hmm. So we'll just say single family. And then in this case, your checklist can be a little confusing sometimes on which one to select. In this case, I'm looking for residential traditional. It's just a traditional buyer in this case. If you ever have questions about the checklist, you can call us. If you do select the wrong one, it will get fixed for you. But once that, like if you've uploaded documents into the checklist,
here's a little tip.
Disappear.
If you are on the, if you look at that doc checklist form that was in working documents, the top box is going to tell you which transaction type you're actually selecting. Those boxes match what your choices are.
So I'm just gonna enter in some information so I can show you guys exactly what the checklist looks like. So in this, just to note, if this was going to be in a trust or something, you would select this box here, and then the company becomes required, first and last name become optional. It's not a trust in this case, so we're just going to move on. So this is going to be our pre-contract file. You would then upload. So these are going to be the 5 documents that if you are working with a buyer, I would just recommend you get signed upfront. Your agency should be signed anyways when doing your buyer broker. Your ABA buyer advisory, it's important for your buyers to have that, and then the wire fraud disclosure. You do have to upload all of these. So right now they're blue. If you did upload them, they would be red showing pending. Once it's reviewed, it will either be green for approved or it'll be purple for incomplete. If there ever is something incomplete, compliance is going to type in here what is going on, and you will be able to see that note. One thing I want to let you guys know, you type back to us in these, and unless you upload something new, we do not see that note.
That's what I wanted to make sure was
It
clear.
doesn't update us. So the only way that our whole compliance team is going to get updated in a file is if you upload something new. So even if you're uploading the same document and you have a whole response back explaining what's going on, that's okay. But we need to know, like, otherwise, if you don't upload anything, we're never going to see the note because it doesn't update anybody that there is a note in there. Now this is going to be your accepted contract button. So if we did have everything in here and I went under contract with this buyer, I would do the accepted contract at that point. One thing to note, this is not going to show gold for you guys until everything that is required has been uploaded. So if you don't have everything uploaded, this is going to be grayed out. It's just because I'm an admin is why mine is showing gold right now, but this would be dark gray and you wouldn't be able to click it. So just note, if a requirement is not in there, then it won't let you past that point. Now, if you're ever like, oh, well, I'm under contract, I want to get it in the 72, like you're trying to do that, you can give us a call. We are able to pause the requirement so that you're able to convert the file, but we will then go back in and turn it back on for you. So if you're ever in a pickle, just give us a call and we can help walk you through that.
Or you can give me a nudge if something's in there flagged for review and it hasn't been reviewed, so it's sitting there kind of waiting for the broker to do something. That is the time I get those documents. Not usually on these 5, usually these 5, unless you're writing a whole bunch of stuff in your buyer broker agreement. Don't do that, folks. I keep getting people that are like, we'll do whatever the builder will pay. That is not a specific amount, and that will get rejected. That is one of the few times that I'm sending that buyer broker agreement back. And if you don't have a buyer broker agreement, that you don't get paid, because you only get paid the amount on that buyer broker agreement. So if you negotiate a buyer broker agreement and put $0 on it, the most you can get paid is $0. So please understand how you write that buyer broker agreement is critical. And it is one that we will absolutely shut down a file for if that is not correct. So you've got to get that right, or you've got to correct it.
One thing to note with like listing specifically, if your commission amount is 4.5%, 5%, and 6%, they are going to ask you if that is the entire amount or just your amount. I've gotten this question quite a few times within the last 2 weeks. In the ER, the amount that you're putting the commission amount on there is just you. It's only your amount. So if it's a super high percentage, compliance is probably going to pause and say, are you taking this whole amount? Some people have their agreements and that's what they've agreed to, but some people are still a little confused in putting the whole commission in that line. So if you ever have any questions about your comments that you get left, call the office. We will help you figure that out. You cannot talk to Cherie, so don't call and ask, I need to talk to Cherie. You're going to talk to either me or Heather. And if it's something that is broker specific, we're going to put you through to Melissa, and Melissa's going to kind of help figure out what's going on there. So do we have any questions?
Online, anybody have some questions? Frank, some questions? No?
I don't even know where to start.
We'll get a client. That's where you start. Okay, so
Okay.
can you
Really
show what that document tab is? I
Yes.
know it's not gonna have
I
anything
should
in
have
there.
gone into there. That was silly me.
Okay.
So, few things I'll tell you guys about this document tab. When you start uploading things, there's going to be a list of documents that you have in there. I know sometimes with the signing programs that we use, everything is one full packet of all signed things and it needs to be split up. You can do that in SkySlope. So you would upload all of them into the documents tab. You would then select it and you can do.
There's a split. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
showing.
because I don't have anything in here, but there's one that says split and assign. So then you can go through and you can put them in each individual placeholders. And it's pretty convenient because one thing to note too, compliance is not like if it's the purchase contract line, all that goes in there is a purchase contract. Counter offers, all that goes in there is counter offers. So if you ever have a document that you don't see a requirement in the checklist, but you want it in your file, you can put it in a miscellaneous. I know some people, they just leave it in the documents tab, so it's all grouped together. They don't necessarily put it, depending on what it is, they don't always assign it to a placeholder. But if they were wanting to hold on to receipts or pictures, different things like that, I know sometimes they put it here in the documents
Okay,
tab.
so can you just circle around that email up above?
Where?
Down right there in the middle. That's right.
Oh,
It's not showing an email. Once you create an actual contract, you get an email. So if you email files, they have to be attachments, not links, but actual attachments, they will automatically drop into this documents tab. So if you want to say, keep a copy of an email, you can forward those emails in there. I would double check that they show up as different emails and you don't have to take them to PDFs. But if you've got PDFs, those PDFs will show up and you can just save them. You don't have to put them into the checklist. And then the other thing is if you'll jump back to the checklist just real quickly, I know this is a hard one to look at on this part of it, but when you're loading things, when you go to attach, you can actually attach up to 10 documents on that particular bar. So if you've got a purchase contract and there's an issue with it, please don't delete that. Okay, leave that there because we've got comments that are affected by that original contract. Load the new contract with the new signatures if you're missing something on top of it. Just say attach and add it to it. They'll all be there and they'll be stacked below. Okay, so just really important that you can get multiple layers on there. And we don't want you to go through, oh my God, that was the wrong document. Let me delete it. Now, if in fact you just uploaded the wrong document and you have the correct one in your file, you're not having to go reprocess things. All right, then go ahead and delete it. That's fine. But it's still in your docs tab, by the way. It's not going to go away. We're still going to have the history of it in there. Oh, and just go back. Well, just go to the right there on the right-hand side. There's something called log. I always love this when people tell us, oh no, I loaded it in, I don't know, in September. And we just can go to the log. It shows every step of what's happened on this file from how many times Cherie has looked at it, how many times I've looked at it, how many times Kat has looked at it, and how many times you've loaded things. Every document, every time you write something, there is it's tracked.
yes.
So it is very funny. We have people that try to say, oh, we did such and such. It's like, no, you didn't,
Not
because it
quite.
really shows what you did.
So it does track everything, but also that's great too, because you can see sometimes like, oh yeah, you did get in here on this day and you were in here doing stuff. So if you're ever curious about the log, you are able to click on it. I don't believe you can click transaction details really, and
No, I don't think they can go back into that.
No.
I think that's on your end.
that's and I think it's not on a pre-contract file. But
Up on the top with the transaction actions on the very top. So I believe they are able to,
you won't see closed transaction.
oh, all they see is the document summary then, or
They can cancel. So you can cancel. So if something does happen and you need to cancel, you would just do cancel transaction. And Please don't just put a period in the reason for a cancellation. That's not a reason. So please tell us what happened so that we can see what's going on in the file and why it was canceled. It can be brief. I don't need a whole paragraph, but I need more than this.
So if in fact, let's say you're canceled under the Binzer, then you can just write canceled per Binzer. The problem is we can't fully cancel the file out until we get an actual cancellation from title that shows that the earnest, what's happened with the earnest money. So if there's an earnest money dispute, I would, on that little bar that says reason for cancellation, I would say Binzer cancellation, earnest money in dispute. I would just throw that in there so we know that at the time. That would be ideal, because we are going to have to keep track of the file. And again, we won't fully close out the file. It's not going to harm you, but we do need to watch what happens with that earnest money and make sure our file gets closed properly. That's why we don't close it out, because we need to know where that money went.
Yes. Another thing to note, sometimes you will you'll submit an offer to somebody and it's not accepted. It's a rejected offer. There is an email that you just email it to. Don't ask me the email right this second because I don't know it right off the top of my head, but I will get it for you. And if you have a listing and you have rejected purchase contracts, there is a spot in your listing for you to upload those. So make sure you do that.
Okay, so we're getting close to the end here, but want to make sure that you guys are aware of the 100 Days of Greatness.
Should we switch spots?
You're gonna switch spots here.
Well, I feel like you're talking and they're just looking at me.
That's all right. Okay, so we have to turn that down here a little bit. Okay, so let me see if I can get into, this is still yours, isn't it? Okay, let's do a new one login, see if that will go. So
You get one.
Oh, it won't, it's not even opening a new one.
I'm also on, Melissa.
Hi, Barb. Why don't you talk just a little bit while I try to open up this?
Sure. So I'm not sure if all of you know that Cuba made an arrangement with the Brian Buffini and Company for 100 Days to Greatness coaching. Starting, well, each office is going to be doing it. I'll be mentoring the PV office starting February 10th. And we're looking for realtors that want to sign up for this class. It would go from February 10th to May 12th on Tuesdays at 12:30 in person. I will also have a Zoom option for the second class of the week, which would only be the first 3 weeks. Don't worry if you have a week vacation in there, we can work around that. But it is supposed to increase your business tremendously and set up good habits and all kinds of great things to help you in your business. So you can ask Melissa or I for any questions about that. But if anyone wants to sign up, the link is in Melissa's newsletter from Friday and from Sunday, and also on the Facebook page.
That is great. I'm trying to get in just to let you know it ties in with sorry,
OneSuite.
With OneSuite and
the CRM.
Yep. Sorry, I'm having to, everybody's concerned about this new two-factor authentication. Folks, this is an automatic. There is nothing we can do. Hold on. To get rid of the two-factor authentication. It's there to protect you and our systems to make sure somebody does not steal your codes and get into this system. And on that note, just real quickly, if you are working with a TC, that transaction coordinator must be an agent, not a referral only, but a full agent here with Realty One Group. They cannot be with another company. That is not allowed because they have access to our dedicated system here, and it's just not allowed. It's not allowed actually by the Arizona Department of Real Estate. It's not allowed by our company. So please be aware of that. Okay, so I want to jump here into OneSuite, but I did get the email address in case you want it for rejected offers. Just real quickly, it is for buyers. They would go to email that into rogparadisevalley@skyslope.com, then indicate it is a rejected offer. Okay, so I'm just going to do this real quickly so you guys can see, because Kat couldn't get into this. Part of what Barb is talking about is working with the 100 Days of Greatness, Brian Buffini's system. We will be working with it because you already have a full CRM. If you go over here, you will see you have a whole contacts and leads system. You have, you can work with all of your contacts and send marketing emails out to them. There's a whole dashboard. I have no idea what names are showing up. Look, my own name is showing up. But at any rate, you can put names in here through your contact and lead gen system, and work with those. So it's really important to know that, whoops, I have no idea what all these are showing up from. So it's the only problem. Trying to see drip campaign center. So there are drip campaign letters that are already in here, but Barb will be working with this, and it's possible there are Buffini designed things. You can load those in here and work the system this way. You certainly are welcome to purchase Buffini's thing, but you do not have to. And we want to make sure you are aware that we have a full CRM that you have control over, that is already free to you. You're already paying for it, okay? And of course, this also is a part of the One Suite, which gives you your own website. Barb, is there anything else that you wanted to share with that? I mean, I know in the newsletter, I have a tab for you to click on, and that way you can let us know you're interested in it. But if you're ready to go, I would say go ahead and click on the Buffini link itself, and that does take you to Barb's link to the Brian Buffini site. You do have to register with Buffini. The money goes to Buffini. It does not go to Realty One Group, right? Please make sure you know that. This is something that Buffini is getting. So
And Realty One has a discount code for $100 off.
correct.
It is one student, all uppercase, all one word, and it comes out to $395 plus some shipping fees for the marketing kit that you're going to get. So I think total it was around $445 for the 10 weeks.
Correct. So, and I believe it starts February 10th. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So we hope that you'll join us. We'll be upstairs in Rock Title, in their training room. And so hopefully you'll be able to be a part of that. We've already got several people that have signed up. This is a small group, folks. We're not taking 50 people to this. So please, if this is something you're interested in, jump on board. And we look forward to really providing this service. We're very excited to be partnering with Buffini. So
absolutely. Yeah. And if anyone has questions, reach out to Melissa or myself, and we're happy to explain more about it.
okay. All right. I think we are almost at the end of this. Any questions for any of what we've shared today for Kat or myself? I know we've still got people online. Kat's going to come over here. Yep. So any questions? Anybody online? You can unmute yourself. Any questions here? Nope. They've been following along. All right. Okay, we are going to wrap this up, and you guys have a great Tuesday. Bye.